Hi students, welcome to 3rd standard social class video session, lesson 5, safety and first aid. In today's session, we are going to learn about first aid. In this heading, we are going to learn what is first aid, why is first aid is important, and first aid for bleeding cuts or wounds. Let us go into the session. In today's session, we are going to learn lesson 5, safety and first aid. And the topics: what is first aid, why first aid it is needed, then the first aid for bleeding cuts or wounds. Even after following all the safety rules, sometimes accidents do happen. In such cases, we must always consult a doctor. But before going to a doctor, some help can be given to an injured person. So, the immediate help that is given to an injured person is known as first aid. What is first aid? The immediate help that is given to an injured person is known as first aid. So, how to define first aid? First aid is the first and immediate assistance or help given to any person suffering from either a minor or serious illness or injury, with care provided to preserve life, prevent the condition from worsening, or to promote recovery. So, the purpose of first aid is to minimize injury and further disability. In serious cases, first aid may be necessary to keep the victim alive. When it comes to first aid, there are 3 P's to remember. They are: preserve life, prevent deterioration, and promote recovery. The role of a first aid is to provide immediate life-saving medical care before the arrival of further medical help. Now let us learn why first aid is important. First aid is important to save our lives. It is also important to make sure that the condition of the injured person does not get worse till the doctor arrives. It also to make the injured feel comfortable. Next, let us learn what are the first aid it is given to the bleeding cuts and for wounds. The first step in first aid for bleeding is, if a cut or wound is bleeding, wash the injured area with clean water. Next, use a cotton wool to clean the wound with an antiseptic such as Dettol. Otherwise, germs can enter the wound and cause an infection. Medical tape such as Band-Aid can be put on small cuts or wounds. If the bleeding still continues, then cover the wound with the bandage and take the person to a doctor immediately. Now let us learn in detail what are the first aid for cuts and scrapes. First, you should stop the bleeding. For that, you apply a gentle pressure with sterile gauze or a clean cloth. Elevate the wound above the heart. Do not lift the gauze or cloth to check if the bleeding has stopped. This can restart bleeding. If the blood is continuously flowing, despite of pressure and elevation, seek immediate professional medical assistance. Next, you should clean the wound. For that, you rinse the wound with clean water. Do not use soap iodine, alcohol, or hydrogen peroxide. This can irritate the wound. The next step is to apply antibiotic. Once the wound has stopped bleeding and has been rinsed clean, apply a thin layer of antibiotic cream or ointment to the wound. You must cover the wound. Keep the wound covered with an adhesive bandage or sterile gauze. As it heals, this will keep the wound clean and prevent infection. Changes the wound covering twice daily and keep the wound clean. After giving the first aid, seek immediate professional medical attention if the wound becomes infected seriously. Children, finally we recall the first aid for bleeding cuts and wounds. First, you should wash the injured area with clean water. Then you should clean the wound and apply the antiseptic. If the bleeding still continues, then cover the wound with a bandage and take the person to a doctor immediately. I hope you got more information about first aid. Thank you, students. Have a nice day.